Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome here at Crypto Hash Review, where we educate and disseminate information about Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies from a Muslim perspective. And we are continuing on our discussion related to discussing, debating, answering doubts and objections made against the Bitcoin network from learned individuals and scholars. And again, as we reiterated from our previous video, this is meant as no disrespect to any individual. We are just using this as opportunity to discuss the objections in a balanced manner. And if you have any objections, please mention in the comments below. And today we are discussing one of the most heated objections towards Bitcoin or the Bitcoin network or cryptocurrencies as a whole, to be honest. And that is price stability. The price of Bitcoin goes and it goes and it goes and it does this and it does this and it moves in the Z-axis. So yeah. First and foremost, we have to first define the scope of this objection. What I mean by that is, are we suggesting that the volatility, the drastic moves in price of Bitcoin up or down, are we suggesting that this means we can't use it as currency if I wanted to? As in, if I have it in my hand and I wanted to exchange that for a car or for some food or for a house, that it's haram to do so and I can't do so? Or it's not a good idea to do so? I mean, what exactly is the objection here? That is very important. It's not enough to say, yeah, it goes up and down. Yeah, we know it goes up and down, like a lot of things go up and down. But the question here is, are you suggesting, though, that due to this volatility, it is now haram to exchange in it? It's now haram to acquire it and store it and have it or even mine it. So I want to deal with that part in a minute. I want to first deal with the second part, which is it a bad idea? No, I mean, it's entirely up to you. Maybe if you was living in a country whereby Bitcoin your currency relative to Bitcoin, Bitcoin relative to your currency moves a lot, and you have a lot of consistent inflows and outflows of money, would it be a good idea to have Bitcoin? Maybe you might get your wages today in, let's say £1,000 a month, and your wet rent is £800 a month, and your food is £100 a month, and your electricity is £50 a month, and you've got £50 left for whatever, as an example. If that's your daily living, then yeah, it would actually be a bad idea to get paid in Bitcoin monthly, unless you literally do spend it within seconds, because your budget is so tight that any fluctuation in that cash flow would seriously harm you. And that's due to the short-term volatility, as in what happens to Bitcoin in the short term, within, let's say, daily, weekly, or maybe even like up to a month. If your short-term tolerance is low in terms of Bitcoin, then it may be a bad idea to hold Bitcoin if your outflows are in a certain currency and your inflows in that same currency. So yeah, that's a given, and that's something you may advise someone. If someone came to you and said, brother, I want to know if I should get paid my daily wage in Bitcoin, my question would be, that's a great idea, but brother, if you're on a tight budget, maybe you might not be able to meet some of your deadlines or some of the things you need to pay for. So maybe you might want to just take it in the same currency so you have no problems. That's a fine. That's a given. But if you are talking about haram, when I say haram, sometimes I like to re-emphasize this to people, that when we say haram, I literally mean there are malaika, there are angels listening and observing what you are doing. And they are actually writing down sin, sin. They're actually writing down that you are committing sin by giving someone a Bitcoin and by receiving Bitcoin. When you put it that way, then the next question is, okay, what exactly am I doing wrong to deserve a sin? I mean, if I lie, I get that. It's haram to lie and I'm lying. If I'm harming someone, like through murder or whatnot, I get that I'm doing something wrong. But what exactly would be wrong in sending someone an address and for them to send Bitcoin to that address? And for me to see that on my screen and to leave it there on my phone, what exactly would be wrong in doing that? Because the next question is it wrong then to use email, and is it wrong to use messenger service? Because that's the same process where you send and receive messages. Bitcoin, essentially, like we said before, is a means of communication. It's a communication network. It's a communication network. It's just that it's the first communication network we've ever had in human history that actually transfers value. I mean, if you want to include the Yap Islands method, then that's also a method of communication, but communicating value. But anyway, so that's, I would say, my first objection to this issue of price volatility. Maybe it might be a bad idea for you personally to have Bitcoin or to get paid and live on Bitcoin, but it doesn't mean that the action itself will be haram. However, how about the other objection? They say, oh, this can't be currency. This is the next part of this. This can't be currency because that's not what currencies do. And for something to be money, money needs to be stable. Now, as we mentioned in our history of money, money has been many things historically. So are we suggesting that all previous forms of money that has not been gold, for example, has been haram to use? Are we suggesting that using silver has been haram to use? Although we find that silver has been very volatile. We've seen even recently, as a couple of weeks, silver move 15%. Meaning if you had a dirham, which is a silver coin, which we know you pay zakah on dirham, and if you had your dirham, you would have lost 15% of your purchasing power just in silver. So we know that there's a currency that is agreed upon by consensus of Islam that is currency, gold and silver, and we see the same level of volatility in silver. And we also know that there are other things which are ribawi. There are other things that are ribawi, meaning that things that riba occurs on, like wheat and rice and other kind of things. And we mentioned before that one of the attributes that potentially could be one of the fundamental reasons why these are ribawi, because they have fungibility in them. They could hold and store wealth in them. It could be money or a storage of wealth. So because you can store wealth in these commodities for a long period of time, they are effectively money. They are effectively a storage of value. But they can move up and down drastically. We have hadith of the Messenger of Allah where the Sahaba said that the price of things have gone up. And they asked him to set the prices. And what did the Messenger of Allah said? Verily, Allah is one who sets the prices. He refused to set the prices and manipulate the prices. And he said, verily, Allah is the one who sets the prices. So actually, I would push back on this objection of volatility by saying stable prices is not actually normal. Even currencies. Just because the US dollar or the pound has an illusion or a perception of stability doesn't mean that historically that has always been the case. And it also doesn't mean that it's actually normal. A lot of stability that we perceive and see are for other factors, not because it's money, but because of other factors, either the adjustment of the interest rates and other kind of manipulation that is done to keep things stable and keep things level. But if you want to talk about the value of things, including the value of gold, the value of silver, the value of anything, then they are subject to the age-old rules and regulations of supply and demand. If there's more supply than there is demand, price drops. If there's more demand than there is supply, the price rises. And that is a canon rule for almost all things. That's just a rule for all things. And that's not something we can ever avoid. And specifically as it relates to Bitcoin, you have to remember, everyone, that it is not a government-based system. It is not a system that is controlled by anyone, that they can actually set prices. It is something that is open for anyone to buy and sell as they wish, like other commodities like silver and gold and the rest of it. So because of that, it is more open to fluctuation. If there was someone in control of Bitcoin and said, oh wait, prices are going up too high, let's adjust this here and let's move this here and let's tweak this there, then you might find more stability. Or if it was something that was more readily available, more used by the majority of people, you find more stability. But that's not the case at the moment. But my point here is, let's take a step back. My point here in this objection here is Number one, I find it unfair that certain rules have been made for currencies and imposed upon Bitcoin that have never been the case before. Historically speaking, we've seen wild swings in the price of currency or in the use of currency in terms of value when currency was even gold. Just look in the history books in the 1800s, before the Federal Reserve Bank, there were massive swings, even depressions when gold was the standard. So just look in history, you find massive changes and adjustments in the price of things, and that's just the nature of the beast. That's just the nature of life. The problem here is that we've now got so used to the manipulated nature of our current system that we can't imagine life without it. Anyway, we hope you found this video beneficial. Please like our video, subscribe to our channel. If you have any objections, which I'm sure you do on this topic, please leave it in the comments below. And if you want to shout out, give us a shout out and contact us directly. You can find our details on our website. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.